The island of Saipan is a paradise today. Turquoise water, coral reefs, and palm trees swaying in the Pacific wind. But 80 years ago, this same island was a fortress, and beneath its quiet hills lies a world most people never see. A hidden maze of tunnels, caves, and bunkers where Japan made its final desperate stand. For the soldiers and civilians who entered those tunnels in 1944, there would be no return. They vanished into the earth, swallowed by history, leaving only silence and stone behind. This is the story of the lost tunnels of Saipan, how they were built, what they became, and what was found when they were finally opened again. By the summer of 1944, the Pacific War had turned against Japan. Island after island had fallen to the Allies. American forces were closing in on the Mariana Islands, a small chain in the Central Pacific that included Saipan, Tinian, and Guam. For the U.S. military, Saipan was the key. From its airfields, long-range B-29 bombers could finally reach Japan itself. Whoever controlled Saipan would control the sky over Tokyo. Japan knew this too. And so they prepared to defend the island at all costs. Saipan was small, only about 12 miles long, but its terrain was brutal. Sharp limestone cliffs, dense jungle, and volcanic ridges made it a natural fortress. In late 1943, Japanese engineers began carving into those cliffs. Using drills, shovels, and explosives, they dug hundreds of caves and tunnels into the rock. Some were narrow passages just wide enough for a soldier to crawl through. Others were large chambers capable of holding artillery, ammunition, and command centers. They built underground hospitals, living quarters, and supply depots. Every ridge and hill concealed firing positions linked by tunnels. The plan was to fight not from the surface, but from beneath it, to turn Saipan into a labyrinth that could not be conquered by fire or air power. But the very thing that made the tunnels strong would also seal the fate of those inside. On June 15, 1944, the American invasion began. At dawn, the beaches of Saipan erupted under the largest amphibious assault yet seen in the Pacific. U.S. Marines and soldiers waded ashore under artillery fire, facing concrete bunkers carved directly into the cliffs. For the first few hours, resistance was scattered. But as the Americans advanced inland, hidden gun positions opened fire from every direction. Machine guns, mortars, and sniper nests fired from cracks in the rock, then disappeared. Every hill was alive. Every cave held danger. The Japanese commander, Lieutenant General Yoshitsugu Saito, had ordered his troops to fight to the death. There would be no retreat, no surrender, and no survivors. From the very beginning, the defenders fought with the knowledge that none of them would leave the island alive. Inside the tunnels, life was a mixture of discipline and despair. The heat was suffocating. The air smelled of oil, sweat, and decay. Soldiers slept sitting up, rifles across their knees. Medical stations were set up in the darkest corners, where wounded men lay in silence while surgeons worked with lanterns and makeshift tools. When the Americans launched airstrikes, the ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceilings like rain. Sometimes whole sections of tunnels collapsed, trapping men alive. Water was scarce, food even more so. But orders were clear. Hold the island until the last man. For weeks, that's exactly what they did. The Americans called it the battle without front lines. At night, Japanese soldiers slipped through hidden passages to strike from behind American positions. In daylight, Marines had to clear caves one by one, often at point-blank range. Flamethrowers, explosives, and grenades became the only way to fight an enemy who refused to show himself. The deeper the U.S. troops went, the more the island itself seemed to resist them. On maps, Saipan looked conquered. In reality, much of the battle was happening underground. By early July, the Japanese defense was collapsing. Cut off from resupply, most units had no ammunition left. Communication lines were broken. But General Saito refused to give up. He and his staff retreated into a complex of tunnels near the northern tip of the island, under Mount Tapochau, the highest point on Saipan. There, he continued to issue orders long after his forces were effectively destroyed. When American troops finally reached the area, they found only wreckage, tunnels scorched by fire, chambers filled with bodies, and discarded weapons melted by heat. The last radio transmission from Saito was intercepted on July 6th. It was a farewell message. He wrote, "The Emperor's soldiers have fought courageously. We will not disgrace ourselves. Our duty is done." Shortly after, he took his own life inside his underground command post. But the battle wasn't over. Thousands of Japanese soldiers and civilians had fled to the cliffs at the northern tip of the island, an area that came to be known as Marpi Point. Beneath those cliffs were dozens of caves that opened directly onto the sea. When American troops tried to negotiate surrender, they found the caves filled with terrified civilians, women, children, and the elderly, many believing they would be killed if they surrendered. Japanese propaganda had told them that the Americans were monsters. Tragically, many chose to jump into the sea instead. Others remained hidden for days, refusing to come out even when the battle had clearly ended. For months afterward, search teams combed the island, finding new caves and tunnels, some still occupied by wounded soldiers who hadn't yet realized the war was over. When the fighting ended, the devastation was staggering. More than 30,000 Japanese soldiers were killed on Saipan. Fewer than 1,000 were taken alive. Thousands of civilians also perished, victims of both war and misinformation. The island was left scarred, its cliffs cratered, its fields burned, and its tunnels filled with the dead. The US military sealed many of those tunnels for safety. Others were simply forgotten as the war moved on. But the ground never truly forgot. Decades later, as Saipan rebuilt, farmers and construction workers began uncovering entrances to old bunkers. What they found inside was both extraordinary and haunting. Rusted helmets still sat on stone benches. Machine guns were mounted on tripods, their barrels melted from heat. Lanterns, canteens, and tools lay untouched where they had fallen. In some tunnels, skeletons were found still in uniform, their weapons beside them. In others, Japanese flags, diaries, and photographs were preserved by the dry air. One chamber near Mount Tapochau revealed an entire field hospital, operating tables, bandages, and bottles of medicine lined neatly along a wall. The air inside was still thick with the smell of oil and dust. Archaeologists and local historians began mapping the tunnels, realizing that the network was far larger than anyone had imagined. More than 400 separate caves, many interconnected through natural fissures in the rock. Each discovery told a story. Each tunnel had its own silence. In 1983, a team of Japanese and American researchers explored a newly opened system near Marpi Point. There, they found the remains of dozens of soldiers and civilians who had sought shelter during the final days of the battle. Their belongings were still scattered around them: rice bowls, family letters, and a single violin case. The strings had rotted away, but the instrument itself remained intact. No one knows who played it, or if it was ever heard above the sound of the shelling. But in that moment, standing in the flickering light of their lamps, the archaeologists said it felt like time itself had stopped. Today, many of Saipan's caves are protected memorials. Visitors can see the entrances, though most remain sealed for safety. Some have been turned into peace parks, with plaques bearing the names of those who perished. Every year, Japanese and American families come to pay respects, descendants of both sides, standing together on the same ground where their ancestors once fought. They bring flowers, incense, and paper cranes. They leave notes written in 2 languages, bound by the same wish, that such tragedy never happens again. To historians, the tunnels of Saipan are more than relics. They are a record of how far humanity will go in the name of duty, and how deeply war can bury its stories. Engineers studying the construction marvel at its precision. The tunnels were angled to deflect blasts, ventilated to survive bombardment, and reinforced with coral and steel. It was military ingenuity born from desperation. But to the families who still search for missing relatives, the tunnels are sacred. They are not ruins, they are graves. Even now, more than 70,000 Japanese soldiers remain listed as missing across the Pacific. Many are believed to lie within places like Saipan, sealed inside the tunnels they once built to protect their homeland. Standing at the cliffs of Marpi Point today, the wind carries only the sound of waves crashing below. The caves in the limestone are dark and still. Tour guides tell visitors to speak softly here, out of respect. The air feels heavy, like it remembers. From above, the sea looks endless, the same sea that once witnessed the end of an empire and the birth of a new era. For those who listen closely, Saipan still whispers the stories of its hidden world, of the men who dug deep into the earth, of the civilians who vanished into the shadows, and of a nation that fought its final battle beneath the Pacific. In the decades since, Saipan has become a place of peace, a bridge between 2 nations once at war. The tunnels remain sealed, but their memory endures in museums, books, and the hearts of those who visit. Some say the island itself holds its history like breath, never exhaled, never forgotten. Because what was found inside those tunnels wasn't just evidence of war. It was evidence of humanity, fear, loyalty, sacrifice, and hope trapped together in the dark. And that's why, even after 8 decades, the lost tunnels of Saipan still haunt history. Forever. Forever.